In late 2024, I attempted to make a video about the Sámi languages. It was my most ambitious project ever. I spent months and months on this hour-long video. I worked so hard on the video, in fact, that I got such a severe burnout in the middle of 2025, I haven't been able to work on it again, even a year later. In order to prevent this work from going to waste, and as a way for me to move on mentally, here are all the surviving fragments of the lost Sámi video, with audio intermissions to connect the pieces and expand on where things went wrong. Please enjoy. This is Sámi. It's a group of languages located in the north of Europe with an estimated amount of up to 25,000 speakers. They are spread out between Norway, Sweden, Finland and Russia, and due to the spread between these four countries, the representation and linguistics rights vary wildly. Both Finland, Sweden and Norway have their own parliaments for their respective Sámi populations, which can propose legislation and act on existing legislation to try to help their culture continue to thrive, with Finland being the only country where linguistic and cultural rights for the Sámi people in the north of the country are a part of the constitution, which is pretty cool. Now, something important to note here is the fact that the Sámi languages are in fact multiple languages. There are probably more Sámi languages than you would have thought there were when you originally started watching this video, because at that point you probably thought there were 0. So let's start off with the current largest Sámi language, Northern Sámi. But I need to give you a massive disclaimer first, that this map of Sámi is going to change throughout the video. I marked the area of the Sámi-speaking population from this Wikipedia image, but this is incorrect. The Wikipedia image shows where the Sámi populations have historically been, but a lot of that has changed in the last 50 years. So with every Sámi language I talk about, I will change the map according to my research to what I believe to be the most correct representation of where the Sámi people are currently located and how many of them there are. So please keep that in mind as the video progresses. Now, Northern Sámi, or Davisamihila, I'm so sorry for the pronunciation, is probably the most well-known Sámi language. It has a majority of all Sámi speakers and has both the Norwegian and Swedish Sámi parliaments in its linguistic territory. It, alongside every other Sámi language, also belongs to the Finno-Ugric language family, which means that they are linguistically related to Finnish, Estonian, Livonian, Hungarian, Kven, Vepso-Karelian, and some other languages that will likely go extinct during my lifetime. Though it's a distant relation and they're in their own pocket of the Finno-Ugric family. One of my favorite things about Sámi as a whole is how their unique geography has shaped their culture. Living in the cold, sparsely populated lands of northern Europe, they were forced to adapt to seriously harsh terrain, with temperatures going as low as around minus 15 degrees Celsius during the winter. It's because of this need to adapt to their terrain that they lived a nomadic lifestyle several thousand years longer than most other locations in Europe. Because the land was, and still is, very difficult to perform agriculture on, the Sámi were forced between two possible ways to reliably get food. Option 1 was to live on the coast in small fishing villages. The temperature there is slightly more tolerable and food is easier to obtain. Option 2, however, is something that the Sámi are far more well known for: reindeer herding. Traveling around with potentially several hundred reindeer all throughout the north and being able to sustain yourself by slaughtering and eating one from time to time, or trading them with the Norwegians, Swedes, Finns, Karelians or Russians in the south in exchange for food, money, clothing or other necessities. They even had internal borders about which families were in control over which lands, although these borders weren't always enforced. For example, a semi-popular thing during the winter for the Sámi to do would be to move their herd of reindeer more towards central Sweden and Norway for better temperatures. Not all Sámi would do this, and the split between Sámi that migrate southwards in the winter and those that stay in the north has formed several different cultures in how they live their life. And living in the north still isn't an easy feat. Even in the modern day with air conditioning, electricity, lights and all that good stuff, the area that the Sámi live in is still incredibly sparsely populated. During the winter you can expect maybe up to half an hour of actual sunlight per day, depending on how north you are, which can make you severely seasonally depressed. And I personally believe that those long periods of darkness during the winter are one of the main contributing factors to the way that the Sámi have traditionally dressed themselves. Vibrant reds, yellows and blues, which makes them look perhaps a little silly to outsiders. But you have to consider that up until the last few hundred years, these people very rarely saw any vibrant color that weren't green or white from the nature and snow. So to those people, wearing vibrant clothing probably made them feel better mentally when living in the darkness for prolonged periods of time. The vibrant colors of the traditional Sámi clothing also fit very well with the flag of the Sámi people. Just look at this. Now, I would want to say that the colors don't work. I would want to say that the pattern looks too confusing and that I don't like how many colors there are. But I can't, because this flag is absolutely incredible. There's so much good about this flag that I struggle where to even start. It's a flag I can imagine a culture being proud of to have it represent them, similarly to West Frisian or Livonian. I mean, take a look at the flags of most European countries. You've got 3 colors, either horizontally or vertically. You got the Nordics doing their own thing and whatever Bosnia and Herzegovina is doing, but most European flags are kind of bland. Compare that to the flag of Sámi, West Frisian, Livonian, Scotland, the Basque country and Wales, and I think you can see just how much more the latter flags are influenced by their culture. The country flags of Europe feel administrative, the meanings of the color usually resembling strength, unity, love for country, wealth, bravery, etc. But you'd only notice if you looked up their meaning. For most people, these stripes mean nothing, and the only time in Belgium that I see people hang the Belgian flag on their house is whenever the Football World Cup is happening, and we barely even win. This lack of Belgian nationalism originated from disputes between the region of Flanders and Wallonia, where unequal treatment for the regions has caused Flemish nationalism to steadily rise over the last 100+ years. The way Belgium has been governed has changed dramatically in that time, going from more French-dominated to a push for more balance between Dutch and French. Now, I'm glossing over a lot of historical complexity, but currently with the new government in Belgium, it seems like these tensions might be lessening as both Wallonia, Flanders and the federal government have general political consensus on what they want to accomplish. Still, so this was supposed to be a joke where I go on a random tangent of historical events in Belgium, completely forgetting I'm talking about the Sámi languages. Until... Oh right, I was talking about Sámi. The colors in the flag represent every aspect of the world. Green is nature, blue is the ocean, red is fire, and yellow is the sun. The circle in the middle represents the cycle of the sun and moon being colored red and blue respectively. It shows that the cultural identity of the Sámi people isn't about administration or nationalism, it's about the world which they have traditionally lived in. The simple enjoyment of the beauty, strength, and challenges that nature offers them. In their mind, they aren't forcing the world to their will by planting crops and settling the region, instead letting the world guide where they go and allowing themselves to be sustained from the land. At least, up until outside forces force them to settle down and stop their nomadic practices in order to survive. Thanks, Sweden. Now, for the next Sámi language, I want to change to another map. However, there was something peculiar about it that I want to warn you about first. I had the genius idea with this map to show every lake and most rivers in the area of the Sámi languages in Russia. This was a mistake. It could have been worse though. If I did every lake, including the small ones, which I originally wanted to do, the map would look bad. Here's a little example of what that would have been. Anyways, let's get started here with one of the first Sámi languages I learned about that has given me a lot to think about. Ter Sámi. Now, Ter Sámi is notable, but only for the worst reasons. If you had looked at it a few hundred years ago, the map would have looked something like this. But in the modern day, it'd probably look more like this. It's extinct. The largest Ter Sámi speaking village, called Yukanga, was declared economically perspectiveless by the Soviet Union in the 1930s. The village of Skolt. Hi, it's editor Nelja here, and while editing this part I decided to look up any more information in case I got anything wrong, and I discovered a lot of new exciting information that completely ruined the next few minutes of my script, so I'll guide you through what I found. I can now confirm that the area of Yukanga on the map is indeed where that village used to be. There is also some more info about how Ter Sámi went into the grave that I'll take at face value. So, Yukanga was declared perspectiveless somewhere in the 1930s, with the inhabitants being sent to the Hramica military base, located in Ostrovnoy, 12 kilometers away from Yukanga. But it seems like that wasn't the end of it. I want to read you a paragraph I found regarding Yukanga. The Sámi district was abolished in 1963. On January 26, 1963, in compliance with a decree of the Presidium of the Supreme Soviet of the RSFSR, dated December 26, 1962. The collective farm was transferred to the Lovozero district, and the workers' settlement of Hramica to the Severomorsk City Council. So, no collective farm, no district anymore, the people were left without a home, language, occupation. Now our village, our Yukanga, has truly become a cemetery in the true sense of this word. Silence and solitude dwell here. A flock of cranes will arrive in the spring, and fly away with a mournful call in the fall. The seagulls will cry, yearning for people. Aryokanga is a dot on the map of the Kola Peninsula, but in reality what is left is 2 rickety houses on a hill, 2 old cemeteries. The forest is overtaking the village, marking the places of our hearts with birches and rowan trees. Damn. Tersami didn't deserve to die. There are likely no native speakers left anymore. A few people can still speak some of it, but not anywhere close to fluency. I think it makes the most sense to just remove this part of Sami from the map. I'm sorry. Now, to shift to a more positive mentality, there are 2 other Sami languages in Russia though that have survived up until this point. Kildin Sami and Skolt Sami. Now, in the video originally, I didn't know which one I was gonna choose, so I just decided to spin this wheel. Skolt Sami. So, Skolt Sami was one of the Sami languages in Russia. Was? Yeah, and also no, but it isn't extinct. It moved to Finland, but it might have also always existed in Finland. It's a little complicated. Okay, so this is going to need some historical context. This area, called Petsamo, used to be a part of Finland. It was lovely, it was great. However, Finland ceded Petsamo to the Soviet Union after losing the Continuation War in World War II, and the local population got evacuated. So, there used to be 2 or 3 dialects of Skolt Sami. You had the northern dialect and the southern dialect, and the Russian dialect, but that's for later. It's a surprise how this happened, but during the evacuations, somehow, the southern dialect ended up in the north and the northern dialect in the south, and everyone just accepted it. Now, this doesn't mean there are no Skolt Sami speakers in Russia though. There are still a few, supposedly, who didn't want to be evacuated, speaking the 3rd dialect, called the Notozero dialect. Now, supposedly there are still a couple dozen people in Russia that speak the Notozero dialect, but they are far less cohesive compared to the other 2 dialects and will sadly probably not survive. I read that back in 2006, the youngest Skolt Sami speaker in Russia was somewhere in their 30s. I'm sorry to burst your bubble, but 2006 was nearly 20 years ago. Oh my god. Oh no. So we can probably say that that person is now in their 50s. I think it's fair to say that given Russia's track record of how much they care about minorities in their country, and considering the current Russian political climate, that preserving Skolt Sami isn't really on their priority list, and we probably won't see the dialect survive by the next century. So, despite the small remaining presence of Skolts in Russia, the cultural center of the Skolt Sami language and culture is now strongly located in Finland. There are supposedly also still some Skolt Sami speakers over the border in Norway, but the numbers there are estimated at around 15 speakers, so it isn't really important for my example. Skolt Sami is only considered an official language in the Inari municipality in Finland, alongside Inari Sami and Northern Sami and Finnish. However, there is a Finnish law that allows Northern Sami, Inari Sami and Skolt Sami to be used officially in all of Lapland. The southern dialects are mainly located in and around Sevetijärvi and at the border near Neiden, while the northern dialects are mostly in Nelim and the area roughly south of it. Some Skolt Sami were also evacuated to Inari, which I can't find any numbers from of the amount, but there should be a considerable Skolt minority there. There are approximately 300 to 400 people that speak Skolt Sami, which is a relatively small and somewhat dangerous amount, but can still be salvaged relatively easily with continued government support and care. Skolt Sami is taught in some schools of the Inari municipality. It has enough cohesion for the language to be studied, to be taught, and to keep existing, at least for a while, which is good. There was also a Skolt of the Year award to award people that made serious contributions for the Skolt Sami language and culture. It ran from 2007 to 2016, and it's pretty interesting to read what contributions were made and awarded. Hey, it's me again, the editor Nelja. When editing this part, I wanted to make sure that everything I had written was actually correct and not only from old Wikipedia sources, so I reached out to the head of the cultural division of the Sami parliament in Finland, Kristina Hieta, and to my surprise, she agreed to go over my script and give some corrections and suggestions, which I will now share. So, according to her, the Skolt Sami language is a great example of the Sami people being one nation across several national borders. where, starting in 1826, various state borders were drawn through the Skolt Sámi homeland. Today, at least 1,000 people can claim Skolt Sámi ancestry. Most of them are citizens of Norway, Finland, and Russia. Then, to summarize her other suggestions, Skolt Sámi is one of the Sámi languages that is fighting hard to survive. It is recognized in Finland with the rights to education and services in the language. It is an endangered language and revitalization work is currently being carried out. There are also young people helping out with these efforts, like Sara Kelemeni, who this year on Sámi People's Day, February 6th, released her autobiography Yishkar. I hope I pronounced that correctly. Which is an audiobook about her experience with language trauma and the shame connected with it, which then turns into a book about hope and the joy of becoming more proud of the language she speaks and the culture she is from, and the spark she has to help continue the Skolt Sámi language and culture. It's honestly insane to think someone released a full biography about Skolt Sámi the day after I uploaded Breaking Bad. Kristina also shared with me the work of Katja Gaurilov, who is a Finnish Skolt producer who has made 2 documentaries of stories about the Skolt people, for which she earned the last ever Skolt of the Year award. Wait, really? Ah, there she is. It's terrifying to contact members of any parliament, by the way. Hey, help me with my educational video project, please. It feels so bad to bother them, and I want to make sure that their effort has at least improved the video. It's also incredibly cool though. Learning from a good source, going into the nitty-gritty. I love this, but it's so stressful. Anyways, those were the corrections and additions. Let's continue with Skolt Sámi. One thing I wasn't expecting when looking at Skolt Sámi was music. Music is important for small languages like these to keep existing and show their culture. So folk songs, poems, something like that can really help a minority language out. Now, I didn't think Skolt Sámi would have any official songs for it. I believed it to be too small for a language like that. And what I definitely wasn't expecting was a rock album sung by the former president of the Sámi Parliament of Finland, Tiina Sanila, completely in Skolt Sámi. And you want to know what the best part is? The music is actually pretty good. My favorite songs from her album Kalkelse Mättösk are Reindeerman Reggae, Tango, It's Not True, You Heart Me, There Are Times When You Just Can't, and but the other songs are also really good. The instrumentals are incredible. The vocals do leave a bit to be desired, but after listening for a while it becomes more of an endearing quality. Actually was third on the Finland's billboards when it came out back in 2006, which I completely agree with. More people need to know about these songs. I'll put a playlist down in the description. I just love this so much. This was an incredible find. The cover art is the cherry on top as well. That is something that is so simultaneously stupid, yet also so incredibly cool that I hope all Skolt Sámi people are proud that this album exists in their language. Now, I said there were 2 Sámi languages in Russia left, and while Skolt Sámi actually migrated to Finland and nearly completely died out in Russia, there is one more Sámi language in Russia that does still exist. Kildin Sámi. But sadly enough, I wasn't able to make the video any further. This was everything I could recover from the Sámi video. And there are a lot of things I didn't talk about. For example, there is a huge amount of script for Northern Sámi specifically that never got edited, so I couldn't include it. Well, I'll post it here in case you're interested. I hope this video wasn't disrespectful to any of the Sámi people, by the way. The issues I had were never with the language and entirely problems with my overambitious plan of an hour-long video. I hope you enjoyed the fragments I managed to save. I hope I can move on now. This production has had me in a mental block for 2 years by this point, and now I'm finally free.